Dripping in, Ed. So what I want to do is basically do a little introduction to you. So I want to talk to everybody what I know about Ed. So I call Ed the true definition of the salesman in real estate, the salesperson. So I mean that he's always prepared for every client, and he presents and closes every deal that he works through. His work ethics, his consistency, his knowledge, and his drive has created his result to be one of the top agents in the country. Now, you get it? I said country, and I agree with that. He is not, the kind that goes, okay, I'm scared to make risk. He's the kind he's committed to the outcomes, in which he has always impressed me. I've known Ed for over 30 years, and it's been fun to watch both of us go through real estate, even though we're not in the same areas, but we dealt with the same scenarios. We deal a lot of working together, practicing together, seeing what we can do next to build our business. But the other thing that Ed was huge about is how to achieve wealth as he's building his business in the real estate industry. So what I'm excited is to have Ed here today to share with you a lot of great things about how he impacted into the business, to how he actually decided to do the business. And also at the end, he's going to share some great things on how to increase your sales production if you're new in the business. And also he's going to give you a little piece of advice about if you want to move into high-end real estate. So a quick couple notes about you, Ed, before. Over 35 years, and you look too young for that, first of all. Over 4,000 plus homes sold with over $4 billion in production, which most of these agents are like, okay, how does someone do that? But you're going to tell them. And then one of the top luxury agents and founders of Sports Star Relocation, which I'm always amazed how much time you put to every little thing that you start. And then the biggest thing is you run one of the top teams at eXp Realty, which eXp has some amazing teams, but you run one of the top teams known as a Kaminsky Realty Group. So, with that covered and everything, Ed, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, thanks for the long introduction, Stephen. As you were talking, I started thinking, what is my core, like my core belief and my core, inner motivation, right? People always ask me, why do I do what I do? And, how do I tick and how do I get to this level of success? And I'm realizing as you're talking, this is really a new thought for me because I've not thought this through before. I've always tried to come up with the answer. And my go-to answer in the past has been, and it is true, is that I never believe that I'm at my best. And I'm always trying to figure out what that is. And the only way to determine that I'm not at my best is look around. And I continually try to find people that do better than me and then look at them as a whether it's a target, a mentor, whatever it is, and say, if they can do it, I can do it. So I must not be at my best. And I believe that we should all operate at our best. It's just a core belief that I have. But then it's transformed into the two most important business people in my life are my customers and my team. And am I doing the best for them? Am I doing really everything I can for the client? What is their expectations? And are we really performing that? And what is the team's expectations? And am I performing that as a leader? And that's who I am. And I mean, it's the best way I can describe how my brain works, is just really just trying to be my best. And it's been a long road, as you said. It's pushing close to 40 years now. Started in 1987. So
Wow.
yeah. So 38.
Yeah. So Ed, knowing you actually did things that were way above what other people would do. I've been around you. I've seen your drive. I've seen what some of the things that you go, hey, go with me and let's do this. And you're just like a risk taker. But the thing you did too is you surrounded yourself by big mentors. You surrounded yourself by people you wanted to reach. You really didn't see them as the incapable of the ability for you to get there. You thought is, What are they doing? And I can enhance it. And that's what I really thought was cool about you. But let's start from the beginning. What really initially drew you to real estate? What got you there?
Well, yeah, I grew up, I think like many of us, starting with nothing, right? We were, we call it poor, but certainly lower middle class at best. And, always seeing all these people driving around in fancy cars and friends with nicer houses and, they didn't have to share rooms and clothes like, I did. And, so I wanted more always as a kid. It was just like it was in me. I had my first career move was at the age of 7, and I started
Wow.
my own business. I'll keep it short, but I was driving my bicycle around. I was driving past this factory and past the dumpster, and in the dumpster was these big boxes of brand new stickers they were throwing away. And I go, oh my God, what a waste. So I took the stickers home, and I think I learned a lot about business with this process. And I said, I'll sell them for like 10 cents each. And they said KIB on them. And then below it said cash is best. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they misspelled it because cash is with a C, but they had a K. So I don't know. But I called them Kib stickers. So I started selling them at 10 cents each. And I was like, man, this is a slow process. I need a bigger audience. So I took them to school, and I had a whole classroom. So I started selling them at 10 cents, like in the classroom. And then the teacher came over and said, you're not allowed to sell things here, Ed. You need to give all their money back. And so then I learned about licensing. I didn't have licensing rights. So I had to give them all their money back, and they got to keep the stickers, which was the worst part. But I tried to figure out I got to do this even faster. So I started selling bags of stickers. So I went to a wholesale business, and I'd sell bags for like $1, but they'd get 20 stickers instead of, so it's like 5 cents each. And then the distribution started happening, and I started seeing them on cars all throughout Ohio where I grew up. So it was a early learning lesson on business, but I've always been driven to just try to make a little bit more money so I could live a little bit better than I was living. And that's where it started. And so in 1987, when I got my license, it was because I was in the jewelry business. One of my employees was going to take a course in real estate, and he told me about it. And I said, I'll just go with you because I see these late night shows that you can make more money in the real estate business than I could in the jewelry business. And I wasn't comfortable financially at that age, which was young. I was in my 20s, but I started young, right? I started my family young. I got married at 19. I had my first daughter at 21. I started, way younger than most people probably do today. Um, it just seemed normal to me back then. But I had to work. I didn't have a choice. I became an adult at 19 years old, a true adult, right? Having
Right.
responsibilities. So real estate just looked like a way where I could put in the energy that I had, which I knew I had a lot of, and be paid fairly back for it, for that hard work and time. And I was willing to put in that effort and time, and hopefully in return be compensated that, to match the amount of work I was willing to put in.
So, I've seen you go in a growth pattern, but you know what? What was your defining moment that you saw the scaling of your business to a new level? Where was that and where was that placed and what happened there?
There wasn't one, Stephen. There's a lot of them. I don't say a lot, but there's 3, 4, 5 defining moments in my career where I elevated because it was generally a steady rise up over the years. Um, but I worked hard, took risks, like you said, and my first experience with taking risk ended up in bankruptcy. I was dead broke, and um, that was humbling, right?
Yeah,
People are
definitely.
asking to be paid, and you can't pay them, and what do you do? And I got aggressive very young at buying real estate and got in over my head because it was easy to borrow money back then, and you get challenged.
Right.
So that humbling made me think differently about how to borrow. how to invest, how to look at the risk a little bit wiser. So that was a growing moment. But then there was, you know, people always ask, how did I elevate from regular housing to higher end housing? And there was a multi-step process, but it always came at this moment in time where I became, I would call it internally angry, upset, or this like belief that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here and I'm here. And what am I doing down here? Stop it. Make the change. And so that moment, the first time it happened was when all I heard in the beginning of my career is learn how to sell 50 homes in 1 year. If you could sell 50 houses in 1 year, you're considered good. I didn't have the internal confidence to jump into the high end. Unlike some people, I've seen people jump in immediately and have success. But me, I needed experience. I needed sales skills and trust my sales skills. I needed coaching skills in the sense of how do I coach my clients and learn that I could do it effectively before I jumped in the high end. So I just wanted to sell 50 houses in 1 year. And I got there, and that was my focus. And then that moment, I woke up and I said, "What am I doing in this neighborhood?" I was selling $180,000 houses in Carson and Lawndale and Compton and all these places. Yet I'm in the beach cities
Right.
and not selling any of those. And I woke up one day and it was a decision. It was an instant decision. I'm stopping there. I'm not going back to that area. I'm not prospecting there. I'm not looking for opportunities there. I'm moving my focus to the beach. And that was that defining moment.
It's funny because you think about today, right? And we have this environment today, and we have this industry running today, and we have all these different agents coming and going. I mean, we saw last year a lot of people left our business, right? And I think about this in your perspective, right? Yeah, I mean, what were some of your early challenges that you had and you faced? And give a little bit about how you overcame them.
Challenges never go away. They always get thrown at you in different angles. And I think I'll try to get to specific ones, but I have built my ability to deal with challenges through training and reading and coaching from those that teach that gospel, right? Like you have to look at injuries as a growth opportunity. You have to look at challenges as a growth opportunity. You can't focus on the problem. You have to look at what is the only solution to solve this issue. And I still have people coming at me with problems all the time, staff and agents and they're so focused on the problem and not, okay, the problem's there. It's there. We get it. What is the solution to fix it? And let's just
Right.
focus there. And so is this ability to do that. So we hit different market time issues. We've had the market crashes of the early 90s. We had the crashes of 2008. And, you have to learn how to pivot in those markets. But, it's here's a simple answer. Here's a very simple answer. If you're in the real estate business, there's one thing that solves everything.
God, let's hear this. You're going to give a
It's
big thing right now. Let's go.
just talk to people. Okay. Pick up the phone and have conversations with people and do it a lot each and every day. The people that have continual problems in their real estate business are not talking to enough people. It's as simple as that. They're expecting business to come from them. They're expecting that one lead call that comes in that they're going to buy the first home they look at, right? It's not how it works. There has to be enough conversations. And here's, I ask everyone that wants to come work here the same question. In a very short sentence, describe what you believe the real estate business is. Like what is your job as a real estate person? And the answers come in all different directions. Well, I have to be there for my client and I have to educate them, and I have to show them the way, and I got to become their friend. And all these things are valid. They're true. I mean, a great real estate person is all that to their clients. But their job, which people forget, is their job is to find somebody that needs to buy a home or sell a home and convince them to work with you. That's their
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And they don't know that. And so if you wake up every day just understanding that's your job, what you do during the day may change.
It's funny. I had, and you'll love this. I think you and I always talk about this. When an agent came to me and said, "Man, you sold a lot of homes. What made you succeed?" I said, "Well, I'm going to give you my best evaluation of how I did it. I was never sleeping when my competitors were awake." And I said to them, "Are you still sleeping when your competitors are working? Because if you are, how can you compete and be your best?"
Right.
And so they looked at me. What time? I go, "My schedule was massive for me. I agreed to it. I committed to it. And I know you're still to this day, the energy flow of you and we talked about this earlier, is just like you are ready for action. And you never
Yeah.
sleep when your competition's awake."
No, I mean, I outwork my competition. There's no question. And I don't teach it and preach it. I just live it. It's, I'm often the first one in and the last one to leave still today. And I've got a new team in here. I got some early risers, and I saw a parking lot full of cars yesterday. I was very proud of. Um, so, you know, past the banker hours, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay, I will teach it in this moment, but I don't preach it. Okay. Now I'll tell you what it is. Think about, like, if I had a calculator, it's insane what it really is. And I'm gonna grab a calculator. Okay. Let's just say you come in an hour earlier than everybody else, right? Everyone comes in at 9, you come in at 8, start your day. So that's 1 hour. But it's, I learned this from the retail business. So, in the retail business, which is my first career in real jewelry, stores opened at 9 o'clock
Right.
and they closed at 9 o'clock. So I was trained as an 18-year-old when I went to work that that's the work day. It's 9 to 9. And then we didn't even end at 9 because you had to put away all the jewelry into a safe and lock it up and count everything. So it was really 9:25 when you got out of there. Um, but we'll call it 9 to 9. So when I started in real estate, I just thought that's what normal hours were. So I was still full time in jewelry, part time in real estate. And so if I worked 9 to 5 at the jewelry store, I'd take a quick break, dinner break, and I'd come in at 6 p.m. at the real estate office. And then there was no one there. I was like, where are they? They must be out selling houses or something. I don't know. So I just would rummage through the office. I'd found some Mike Ferry tapes. I listened to Mike Ferry tapes, and then I just cold call from 6 to 9 p.m. And then if I worked in the jewelry store from 1 to 9, I would door knock from 9 to noon. That was my day. I either door knock 9 to noon or I cold call from 6 to 9. And that's how I got my start. And so I was sort of pre-programmed that that's the work day. So I'm always like wondering at 6:12 when I look around the office where everybody went. I'm like, but again, I don't preach it because you have to honestly find ways to balance time, be with your family, and enjoy life and go golfing and everything else that's important to create some balance. But I always find it interesting, those that reach success, they do have challenge with balance. So that's just my
You, you know, you always have like this great strategy and philosophy. There's strategies that you did in order to get into your high level of luxury business. There's also strategies I've always admired from you, basically how you operate and how you express to your agents and to, your clients and the other people in the industry. Your philosophies are always in the space of how to give abundance back out, which I thought was really cool. But let's go back to your core values then. What guided your core values to have great interactions with clients and all your team members? What is that core value that you bring to the table?
I think it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning, but it's really being your best and trying to look at the other person more than yourself, right? You got to get the focus off of you and focus on the client. This is important in marketing. It's important in how you're being as a leader, as a realtor with your clients. And I know we all try to believe every realtor says I'm there for my clients, but it's so challenging sometimes, especially when you're having a tough quarter or a tough year and you're short on deals and you're really not making the money you need to make. And I got to get this deal put together, right? It's so important to feed my family. And it's so on you. And you got to somehow get rid of that, right? And move it to the client and really dig into what do they need and being able to listen to what's important to them. And it's the same with the team members and listening to them and what's important to them right now. And when you're too focused on yourself, you can't hear it. You just don't tap in. And
Right.
so I would say that's my core value, right? Is really being conscious and aware of my surroundings as best I can.
Got it. Got it. So I'm gonna kind of shift real quick, okay? Because you went into the luxury market, okay? And I saw that. And then you came into this idea of let's go through a sports star relocation. And you said, I'm gonna go into a niche market. And I actually had some fun times with you watching you do this. And I'm gonna actually tell a story about you. Hopefully it doesn't get in trouble for that. But the idea of it is you had this unique niche that you wanted to do. What inspired you to make that move to start marketing toward athletes?
Well, I always felt that niche marketing was important, and niche being where you just really truly focus in on a segment of the market. And it could be geographical, it could be employment wise, it could be sports, it could be probate and trust, it could be divorce, it could be like all these segments, right? That you can kind of focus in on the elderly. There's a lot. And once you become, vibrant in that niche, become the expert, things tend to grow. And so that's kind of the what I know and is the core belief about how that niche works. But how Sports Star came along was I worked with a player
Right.
and I helped him. And I thought, well, that was cool. Like, I like that. So, I woke up like the next day and I said, all athletes should work with Ed Kaminsky in Los Angeles. And I made this statement and I actually believed it. And then
I
I saw
figured
these
this thing you
players
did.
come into town and they weren't using me. I'm like, did they not get the message? Like, what's going on? And then I realized, okay, it can't just be me. I've got to get the word out there. And so I started taking action steps immediately, developed a brand called Sports Star Relocation. And it still didn't happen quite fast enough. So I said, okay, to really build it, I think I got an idea. I'm going to find every realtor in the country that works with athletes and then create this little group and network. And so if someone's traded from Dallas or Miami or Chicago to LA, I can call that agent and say, do you know them? Can you get their number and give it to me and I'll work with them and pay a referral fee, right? So that's kind of how it started. So it was basically out of this competitive drive and nature that I have. That's where it was started. But what I've learned over time, you got to go back to it can't be about you. It can't be about that competitive drive. That's what the catalyst is to get it going. But then you have to look really deeply into the problem they are having during this relocation and solve that problem.
Okay,
And
so I'm going to tell your story.
what I quickly learned is these these families they don't love it, right? We think they get paid all this money and they're getting relocated to these cool cities, but the reality is their spouses or significant others are being taken away from their core group of friends. Their kids are being changed out of their schools into a new school. their favorite hairdresser is now gone. Like no one knows how to, blow dry my hair like this woman in Chicago, right? So all these things have become frustrating. And so trying to solve those problems and ease the relocation process by providing a white glove super concierge service around those moves was the next move we had to make it about them and not about us.
So I'm going to actually share that story. And this is one of the funniest things I ever did with you. And you get in places for some reason. I don't know how you get there, and whatever you talk to or what you get yourself in these. But one time, you and I know you said, "Hey, we're gonna go in the Staples Center. We're gonna get a good view of the locker rooms and stuff like that." And I'm like, "That sounds cool. Come on out with me." And you come showing up, and we're walking through this thing, and you have a bag, and I'm like, "What the heck?" He goes, "You're like, hey, hang back a little bit." And they're going through this tour, and you just stop and you start throwing your little things in everybody's lockers. And I'm like,
Yeah,
holy,
right
what?
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you were just tossing these things out, and I'm like, oh my God. It's like, and you're like, come on, okay, let's go now. Let's catch up. It just told me like it didn't matter. You found a way that everybody else would probably go, I can't do that. You're like, no, let's do it. Let's just do it. And again, it you don't know what it could have done, but someone would say, hey, who's this? And I thought that was a funny. I swear, we left that, and I was still laughing. I mean, I know we went and had lunch after. We were just cracking up. I just like, but you're just like a unique individual. That when you put your mind to something, you start thinking. You're probably thinking, 26 hours of the day, even though you have only 24. But you're always thinking, right? So
Well,
you talk.
I shared it. I gotta share it. That's a unique strategy. It's kind of more grassroots, just getting out there and chucking things in lockers. But um,
Yeah.
there are more. I'll give you one good strategy I use today that's very effective. And you don't have to use it in sports, but I use it in sports all the time. I like getting invited or being a part of events, especially if it's around a foundation, a charitable opportunity. I like giving back to the community. And at the same time, I'm going to mix business with giving back when possible. And so I get invited to these special events. And I always make sure I know at least one or two other people that I know really, really well that are going. And then when I get there, I stand back in the back of the room and I look for them. And I'm waiting for them to start conversations with multiple people at the same time because they're social events, right?
Right.
And then and only then I approach them and say, "Oh my God, Stephen, I didn't know you were coming." Or "Good to see you here." And inevitable, every single time they introduce you to everyone standing around that little table. And so that's where the relationships start to build. And, organic conversations start. And of course, it's usually that person who's saying all these great things about you because they already had that experience with you. And so it's always better coming from that third party acknowledgement than it is coming from yourself. So it's a great strategy to use.
So, there's been a decade, right, that we've dealt with this last decade of real estate itself. And I really want to get into this. I know that this decade has been, a pivot change in many different ways that we have to deal with. And, you as a great agent and your real estate market evolved. What's happened in the past decade that have you made some pivots that would help other agents understand how important it is to pivot quickly and to understand your market when you have a change?
Well, I think there's two things. The noise in the marketplace, the well, it's the noise in communication that has become a benefit and a challenge, right?
Mhm.
It's noisy out there because if I think back, okay, how did your business start? It was on the phone. That's it. It's just a regular phone, and you dial these numbers around it, and then someone answers, right? And today you have email, you have Slack, you have social media, you have texting, it's endless, right? And so people are being attacked from all these different angles. and to get to somebody, to have that important conversation with your clients and leads, um, you don't know which form of communication they will connect on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's speed in communication that we have. There's automation in communication that we have that we didn't have back then. And so those are the benefits. But the challenge, of course, is all the noise and how do you get to people, and realizing that low attempts and not multiple modes of communication is the biggest failure for most agents. They think that, okay, they're texters. I'll text this client, and if they get back to me, we'll do something. They don't get back to me, I guess they don't want to do business with me. I mean, how many texts you get you can't respond to, you're just not going to respond to right now. And it may be a service you importantly need, but you're like, I guess they'll reach back out to me because I got too much other things going on right now. And we have to recognize that with our client base, that it's not 3 attempts, 5 attempts, 7 attempts, but it's 20 attempts. And you got to do voicemail, you got to do ringing the phone, you got to do text, you have to do email, maybe catch them on social media if you're in that world. So you got 4 different ways to get to people today, and you need to try all 4, and you need to do it 20, 30 times before you get that connection. And most people give up way too early.
I think it's really important to understand that. I don't think everybody understands there's 4 different generations we're dealing with in the real estate market today. And you and I talked about that. You
Yeah.
have the baby boomers, you have the millennials, Gen X, Gen Zs, and everybody likes to communicate different ways. And what I think I try to work with my team is look at you got to really match how your client wants to communicate. And to think to negotiate by text is the most improper way to provide service to somebody without the content of tone, understanding, and direction. And it's interesting because that's what I mean, for my team, it's probably one of my most frustrating things to go, look at you guys. If you were to text me and I'm a baby boomer and not talk to me, I'm losing respect for you and I don't have time for you. And
There's
so,
4 words. Yeah. I was going to
yeah,
say there's 4 words that are said from my mouth in my office more than any other 4 words in the world.
talk to
Pick
me.
up the phone.
That's so simple. Yeah, yeah.
Have a conversation. Because they'll come in and say, hey, what do you think of this negotiation I got going on? Are you kidding me? Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. And it's crazy though. Their mind thinks that way. I remember every team member is a different age. What are they thinking? Always thinking, what are they thinking? How can we do something different? And we practice that for our team all the time. So I got a huge question for you. So, what emerging trends do you believe will change the industry in the next 5 to 10 years? What trends do you see changing it?
Well, there's a clear trend happening in the brokerage world, right? Where there's a called a revenue share model where instead of a broker taking what revenue they can and trying to make a profit, they're sharing it amongst the agents within the company. And that's a massive change, right? So it's putting ownership into the agent's hands, which I think is a massive change. And you're seeing that shift happen with a lot of different companies. I don't think we're
Yeah,
seeing any new startup companies start that don't have that model built with it. I think EXP was the first with 90,000 agents. It's clearly successful in that we became the #1 transaction leader
yeah,
in the world. So that's one trend, is getting into real estate. The retirement plan that was built in the past was death. That's it. You work and then you die, right? So I think changing how you think about this as a business and your future has changed. And I think that's going to be an important trend because we're learning that as real estate agents, we don't have to be a broker owner to build out something that's saleable or create some opportunity for your old age, right? I think
right.
that's a big trend. I mean, clearly we're seeing data data sharing has continued to evolve with companies like Zillow and Redfin and all these other companies that pop up. And they're trying to capture lead share and then sell that lead share back to agents. And that hit us. We're right in the middle of it. Um, and so you either have to adapt to it and find a way to work with it, or find a way not to work with it and build your own business around it. Um, and that's going to continue to evolve, uh, as AI technology gets in this world, right? Because AI is becoming the fastest moving thing in the world. And AI is definitely going to have a huge impact on the business. But what AI won't do is won't take away you. It won't take away you as the realtor. People still want to get on and connect with someone who has information and knowledge and they've walked the streets, right? You can ask a computer the value of a home or, anything else, but they don't, they're not going to know what you know, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it's going to help a lot of people. I use it every single day and in a lot of different ways, and we're finding it helpful. But I think that's probably going to be the biggest game changer in real estate. And I don't think we even know what all that's going to be just yet.
So, I see that AI is a huge game changer, and I see social media has been such a game changer for a lot of people to, have a better way to respond to their audience. And also, this now we're doing a lot of these, because we're all part of the Zillow process, we're doing these virtual tours. And I think it's huge. But basically, you're saying AI is your biggest thing. That's the biggest game changer right now for you.
It is. I think, it really can help you improve how you communicate. We're using it a lot. I just share a couple things. I don't know how to give this link, but maybe I can share it with you. But
Just share
there's
with
a
me and I'll
company.
give it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a something that I love. So we did scale our company. We have 40 some agents right now, and they need help, right? They need some
Yeah.
help. And I said, you know what? I'm going to hire you all a personal assistant. Everybody today gets their own personal assistant. They're like, really? Yeah. They're gonna they're gonna listen to your calls. They're gonna remind you what to do. They're gonna fix your CRM when it's all messed up, and they're gonna remind you who you're supposed to call today. Everything you would ever want your personal assistant to do. And I was able to do it for pennies because I used AI, and it was called House Whisper, and it's so
Oh
cool.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
and she's got a name. It's Alex, and it's so funny. Um, we were one of the test companies to kind of work with it and coach them on what's working, not working, how to improve it. And Alex sounds so real. One of my agents proposed to her.
How did that go? Did she say yes?
She turned him down. He said no.
She said that you don't work enough. I can't do it with you,
I mean, it's
or you
so
don't make
real. You
enough
can just,
income.
yeah, you're not prospecting enough. But
So
it's
that leads
it's
into a great
so
question now.
amazing. Yeah. Go ahead.
That leads into a great question. So you built I just heard 40-person team. So what do you look for when building your team from an agent standpoint?
We're very clear what we're looking for. We have a culture that we core values that we look at first, right? We have five core values we're looking at, which is teamwork and customer oriented and things like that. Like, do they really have that? We are looking for people that want to work full time, right? We're not looking for part timers. We want someone with a little bit of experience. They've written a transaction or two or three or 10 or 11. Um, but they're committed to growth. They're committed to their clients. They're um, they want to work hard and they want to succeed, and they're open to coaching. They're open to accountability, right?
Right.
Um, and whether they want to sell luxury or they want to sell anything, they fit within our team. They just have to have that drive. Like I live here, right? I want to be around great energy. I want to be around positive people. I want to be around people that are supporting each other. And so that's what's important. And we expect them to do transactions. And
So
if they're
for
not,
everybody to understand
yeah.
this, okay, you take your top five agents. What differentiates their behavior compared to all the agents? What made them learn quicker, move production up faster? If you can say three things that they did, because you know you have the core value and you have to training, obviously, because anybody who's going to be trained under you is going to see some successful opportunity. But if you take, we always have the ones who are always higher producing than the others. What are three things that you could call out that they do differently than the others?
STP.
Talk to
It's
me.
STP.
Talk to me.
So for those in the car business, STP was an oil, provider,
Yeah.
very famous on race cars and things like that. But um, it's schedule, training, and prospecting. That's it. You make your schedule the most important thing in your life, and you live by your schedule. You don't let clients take you off your schedule. If you have prospecting scheduled in there from 9 to 11, you don't take listing appointments at 10 o'clock in the morning. You don't do buyer follow-up problem calls at 10 o'clock in the morning. You schedule your prospecting and you leave it in there. And so you live by your schedule. Training is role playing, studying, educating yourself, learning the market, learning what to say, reading books. It's really pouring skills into yourself because you need skills and you need to hone your skills. There's no one in this world that succeeds at a high level that doesn't work on their skills. Athletes being one of them, right? But look at
Right.
football players. They train 6 days a week for a 3 hour football game. So that's training, and P is prospecting. Some people don't like the word. You call it lead generation. You can change the letter, whatever you want to do it. But if you're not talking to people every day, new people every day, it's not going to work. So those at the top five people, they live and breathe by STB.
It's funny that I'm sure my teams is watching this today are like, oh man, we hear that way too much. It's funny. And I'm like,
Well,
wow, this is
yeah.
cool to have another voice bring that opinion across the
Well,
table.
I will tell you, the most successful person on our team, you know, happens to be my daughter Tina, and she she is the only person I swear till today that took my coaching verbatim and did everything I told her to do. And she did it. And she's one of the few people in the country as a team member that can make 7 figures a year
I
consistent.
agree. I know
And
your daughter.
so
She's
she
a
wakes up
driver.
early, and she has another thing I don't have, which is incredible, is balance. She's got two beautiful kids, my favorite two people in the world, um, and a husband, and she finds ways to get home by 3 o'clock when they get home from school, take them to their sports. She's the team mom for baseball, and she's the one keeping track of pitches and strikes, and she's there, right?
That's
And then
funny.
she's off with her girlfriends on a little girls trip, and off with the family on going to Zion or whatever they're doing. It's amazing to watch have all that success in a structured schedule, yet creating balance in her life and getting home at 3 o'clock to do what she's got to do.
And I don't think, from knowing Tina for all these years, okay, she imagines seven figures. She doesn't see that's not possible. Where most people will go, I don't know if I ever can get there. The picture and be able to imagine that is an opportunity to get to is a whole different level of skill and mindset than most people can think. They can't even think sometimes, how do I get past 200,000?
You
You
know,
know, good.
it's I'm just thinking you don't have to be like Ed or Tina or Steven. You just got to be where you want to be. And 7 figures doesn't have to be the number. I've been around too many people to realize that not everyone's driven the same. They're
Right.
driven by different things. And, to go out and make $150,000 a year and that's satisfying you and your family, then that's
Right.
okay, right? So it doesn't matter where anybody else is. All that
Right.
matters is, are you doing what it takes to be where you want to be? And
Right. Right.
the question I ask anybody, we have weekly accountability meetings with the entire team. And I give them three choices. If their production is not where they want it to be, I just ask them, Steven, you said you wanted to be at 10 closed transactions by May 7th, and you're at 5. So you have three choices. Number one, you need to increase your activities so you can get up to where you want to be. Number two, you need to lower your goal. Or number three, you need to quit. Those are your three choices. It's very simple.
Right.
So
Those are
which
simple.
one do you want to do? Right. And I can't decide for them. They have to decide on their own, but this is how we coach and trying to get them to understand that they have full control where they want to be.
Okay. So I think that's great. Okay. But now I'm going to go back to the reason I have you here today. Okay. I want to get a little more in your personal and reflections of who you are because, if someone says, I know you're saying everybody can say, I want to be this, but if someone wants to have your success, you got to be different. And you know that. You've been mentored by some pretty big people. You surround yourself by great producers. You knew that you wanted this edge, right? So I'm going to start with, and I want just share it, okay? And no one, again, no one has to be you, but if they want to know what you are about, what does a typical day in your life look like? Let's go there.
It's pretty similar for a long, long time, but there's probably a little shift along the way as becoming more of a leader and a
Right,
trainer. But
of course.
let's go back to, let's assume you're an active agent. You want to produce 25 deals, 50 deals, whatever it is a year. Very simple schedule. I focused on my morning schedule more than anything else. My afternoons got a little bit more less structured than my mornings, but I wake up in the morning to do one of three things or all three, right? It's get educated, right? Read something important or impactful. And today I read on health because that's become more important as you get older. I read about leadership. I read about business skills. Well, those, I don't read fiction and those type of things, but um, so I'm educating myself. I'm trying to do something healthy, right? I drink a glass of lemon water, first thing to flush the system, right? And then I work out, I train. So it's cardio or it's a gym workout, and now I'm adding in that morning schedule some meditation, red light therapy, cold plunge, all these new ways technology. I don't know if it's working or not, but they say it's good for you.
Okay, well,
But
I'm
it's
in
a
the
more
same
it's that
space.
it's that morning me routine, taking some
Right.
time for yourself, spending an hour and a half with yourself to take care of yourself so you can therefore take care of others. That's always been a morning routine. And then my original was be in the office by 7:30, and I would have a role play partner each and every day, Monday through Friday, to role play from 7:30 to 8. Stephen, you were one of my partners for
Yes, I
a
was.
decade or two,
Yeah,
you
oh
know.
yeah. It was fun.
And so that was my 7:30 to 8, and then 8 to 11 was outbound uh, lead generation and lead follow-up. 11 o'clock, it's okay. All right, the world's trying to get to me. What's going on from 11:30 and deal with emergencies. 11:30 to 12, I meet with the team to go through everything that's going on team-wise. Take a break at 12 o'clock at lunch, and 1 o'clock's my first appointment. And so that's usually a listing appointment. It could be a buyer appointment. And so that is the schedule I lived and died by for the last 38 years.
So it's funny. I remember a lot of things we did together. It was funny because you and I had a competition one time. Our coach was Tom Ferry. I remember those days, and he made us go against each other. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it was a February month, which is a short month of days. I never forget that. I'm like, Tom, out of all months, you're giving us February. And he made us go against each other. And it was funny because the goal was who's going to get the most deals into escrow, you know? And the funny part, I was training every morning with you. We always said, okay, what's your goal? Where you at? Where you at? And it was so hard. But you inspired me certain times going, oh, he's getting a little ahead of me. Oh, hold on a second. Or if I was getting a little ahead of you, I'm like, oh. The funny part is we trailed so hard against each other that we both did so many deals. We did 20 some odd deals, but you did one more deal more than me. And it was 20. I had 22, and I think you had 23. And I thought, I got you. I got you, man. I got to over that 20 mark. And it was funny. You and I laughed, and Tom made us do this whole thing on stage. And yeah, but it was fun. I tell you, it was motivating because it was fun to think, what's he doing now? You know, and when you had to report to me, and I had to report to you where we're doing it. It was kind of fun. It was a great eye opener to go. Anything's possible if you actually have your mind set that I'm going to do it. Which again, we were up early all the time. That was just a number one thing for us. But Ed, how do you maintain your high performance through your? Because I've said this earlier on a previous discussion about you is Ed maintains high performance. I mean, he does have STP oil in his body. It's his engine's running strong all the time. How do you maintain that?
So I create the necessity to do it in my brain. Um, like I tend to put myself in a position where I have to. Like as soon as I started getting comfortable in my office here, for example, like everything was flowing nice. Um, Books were good. We're running at a profit. Everything's great. And I said, you know what? I had the listing of the building right next door. You can actually almost see it from here. Um, and it wasn't, it was getting offers on it, but nothing to satisfy the owner. And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it, and I'm just gonna expand the
That's
team.
Ed.
And so, and then I have to remodel it. And then the remodel costs were through the roof. And so I had to go in to more debt to do it and build it, and then build staff members, which costs money. And so I continue to put myself in really uncomfortably financial situations for some crazy reason that almost creates this forced necessity to have to go out and perform. And I don't know if I'm just crazy. I am forced to live this way because I like the pain, but I'm just not comfortable with comfortable.
So
I
what
tend
is
to
that driver for your why? So what is that driver that creates that
Everyone's
why?
asked. It's really hard for me to answer that question. I wish I
I,
could just say what the why is. I go back to the beginning, like I'm just trying to be my best, and I don't think I'm there. I keep seeing people that are doing really cool things that like, wow, if I adjust this and adjust that, I could do that too, and I'm gonna try, and maybe one day I can turn it off.
yeah.
But I just constantly put myself, Mike Ferry taught me that, and maybe it was to his fault. But he said, drive a fancier car, get a better house. And so I was that guy, and maybe if I didn't do all those things, I'd have all this crazy liquidity that would be comfortable. Um, but I did that, and I built the big houses and had the fancy cars, and a lot of that money is gone, right? It's just not here. Um, so I got to go make it again. And it's
Okay.
just, I guess I enjoy that journey.
So I'm going to give everybody the bonus round. Okay. All right. Because you got all these people on this call listening and wondering and how to do it. And there's a lot of newbies on there, a lot of people who have actually made those moves up to the second middle level of it. So I'm going to ask you, Ed, what are the three things today an agent can do to increase their sales and produce more business or now business? Let's say, call it now business.
So if it's increased production, um, it goes back. I can't help but go back to STP, right? Because it's all it is. It's so simple, people. It is so simple, but you just keep missing it. Like I see people miss it all the time. 20 conversations a day will change your business life. 20 new conversations with somebody talking about real estate. If you're in a real estate business, if you're not in real estate, adjust it to whatever business you're in. But 20 new conversations with new people each and every day, 5 days a week, will change your life. Learning what to say, the training is so important. And there's so many different ways to do that. There's podcasts, there's AI, there's Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, all these people that teach ways to communicate in a better way. Chris Voss is, oh my God, he's so amazing, right? Who
He's awesome.
is a
Yeah.
hostage negotiator, but just has
He's
really
awesome.
great skills in
Yeah.
communication. So really working on yourself, you know, 30 minutes a day is helpful, right? You don't have to spend 8 hours a day doing it, 30 minutes a day, and then really being honest with your schedule and
Yeah.
when you're going to do it and stick to that schedule. And so one thing I ask each and every agent to do each and every week, and it's a real challenge for them, but I don't think it's hard, but it is challenging. Decide every week 3 things that you're going to commit to and do not falter on it. And something that is a game changer, though, because I'll see someone write down, meet Billy Bob at the home inspection. Like, you don't meet Billy Bob at the home inspection. We know you got to do that. No, a game changer. Like, all right, I am going to do my 20 contacts a day without fail. And if I don't get it done, I'll do it on Saturday or I'll do it on Sunday, or I'm going to start that door knocking program or whatever it is. Um, but very specific, measurable, and game changing that you want to commit to, things that you know you've been faltering on, um, you've been making excuses for, and just 3 simple commitments. And that can be in business or health, right?
So Ed, okay, a lot of agents are out there, okay, and which I hear more now from 2024 to 2025. A lot of failures. Their big companies aren't really helping them get to that next level. Two things, they have a choice to be on a team, and that's a whole different look for them, right? But if they don't choose to be on a team, what lead generation, if they don't have money like a team has to help promote business, what can they do different?
Well, first of all, as you started talking, I think environment is so important. So the one thing that has allowed me to grow so effectively is putting myself around people that do more than I do. And I think that's really important. Um, so your environment is critical, and being around others that you want to be around to learn from or be motivated by, or see them having successes that'll kind of like guide you is so critical. However
Right.
you find that environment, that's up to you. You could be an individual agent at a great office, you can be on a team, or you can connect with community, like we do, with
Yeah.
Fast Forward Movement, and there's a lot of
Right.
different ways of doing that. So environment is critical, but you do not need money to grow your business. You don't need this gigantic marketing campaign. You don't have to have a team that's paying for everything if you don't want to. You just got to talk to people, right?
Right.
So
Simple.
I would try to refine there. Think of your reach out in segments, meaning, okay, I really love this community and I'm going to work that community and I'm going to become an expert there. And so I'm going to door knock there. I'm going to cold call there. I'm going to know everything about it. I'm going to provide value back to the people that live there. I'm going to let them know what's going on with the weekend. And there's a charitable thing here, or there's a kids thing here, or there's a fireman's breakfast on this day. And really connect with the community and be a part of it. So that's geographical. And then pick something that's nichey. It might be like, you know, I've always worked with lawyers and I love them and I love how they, meet up and greet and connect and in these different events. And I'm just going to be diving into this lawyer group, right? And then you just have your general outreach, which is okay, you're a cold caller, door knocker, just in general. That's a little bit less directed. Um, the other thing, the fastest way to new business is get an opportunity with open houses. These are people that are raising their hand. They're coming by. They're either neighbors curious about value in the area, or there's someone on the home search, and they're there and they're raising their hand. I want someone to talk to, and so be cognizant of that. So that's four ways you asked for three.
So, Ed, we are coming down the end of this great
Wow,
interview,
that went
and
fast.
I want to
Yeah.
tell you something. There's so much information you can provide everybody in the world, and I got to tell you, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time today, and I'm sure everybody who's watched this so far is just like got a lot of information to work on. And I think obviously we always say take two or three great ideas. Don't try to take the big bite out of the elephant, and just try to direct themselves in the best place. But I want to first thank you for taking the time today. You are an amazing, energetic, and a great friend, and I always appreciate that. The thing that I'm going to look forward to, and you and I talked about it, and everybody, I want to let them know, I'm going to spend a day of Ed. I'm gonna hang out with him. I don't care if I sleep over his house. We're gonna work out together. I want to have you watch what Ed does in the day, and I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna learn from start to finish. Even if we finish off at the poker table and we go home, that's Ed's long day. Now I'll probably be toward midnight. But Ed, you're an energy machine, okay? And I gotta tell you, I appreciate every single time I get a chance to be in these years of being around you and fun times we've had. And I look forward to more and more opportunities with you in the future. Again, thank you. And anything last you want to say?
Listen, be you, right? Don't make your chapter one my chapter 10, right? You're not going to
Yeah,
be at chapter 10 right now. Take your path and identify what it is that you really want. Just work towards that. Don't worry about what I did or Steven did. It's really just about you and where you're trying to get to next and focus on that next level.
that's awesome, Ed. Thanks again. I hope you have an amazing, productive, great day today, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
You
it.
bet. You
See
bet.
ya.
Thank you.